Welcome everybody to Lowry Sports Rhetoric. I'll be your host today, Daimon, and today I'm continuing my series of what I'm looking forward to in 2022 as it relates to the college football season. As I mentioned before, in addition to being a Florida State fan, I'm just a big college fan in general. So if you aren't familiar with this segment, basically what I'm doing is every Saturday and Thursday nights and sometimes Friday nights, I have 3 TV screens in my house, sometimes 4 if I need to go that many. I can steal one from my son's PlayStation TV, and I'll go 3 or 4 wide on the TVs, watch all the games I want to watch, and so I know it's challenging. A lot of people think I'm crazy trying to watch a TV on all those screens, but believe me, it's easier to do with football than basketball. With football, it's really easy because of the huddles and everything. You can just watch different plays. And I've been doing it for a long time, so I've gotten kind of used to it. But the segment is the teams and players that are going to make my checklist. When I wake up Saturday morning and I try to plan out my day, and I figure out, okay, what games are going on each of those 3 screens, and what games am I watching that first set, what games am I watching that second set, that late afternoon, early evening set, and then that late night set. These are the teams I'm looking for. The players I'm looking to see. Try to watch as much of these teams and players as I can over the course of the season for various reasons. Either one, I do play college fantasy football, so a lot of times it's going to be guys that are on my fantasy team. If you watch our draft video, me and my brother are really into the draft, so I like to watch as many college players as I can, so I have some knowledge of them when the draft rolls around, have a good feel for, who's good, who's not, what style of player are they, that kind of thing. So try to pay attention to guys that I think have a chance to go to the NFL, especially at the quarterback position, and then just guys that are fun to watch, guys that are electric. So with that said, today's video is going to be the ACC. I will not be talking about Florida State in this video. I'll talk about the rest of the ACC. Obviously, I'm going to watch Florida State. I watch every Florida State game I can. And at some point down the road, I will do a Florida State only video. Or Nate and I might do like Florida State and Oregon together. Since he's a big Oregon fan, I'm a big Florida State fan. As far as for today, I'm not going to touch on Florida State, what I'm looking for them, because I want to dive into it deeper. And I don't want to take up that much time in this video. This is more just the broad strokes of the ACC and the other teams besides Florida State that I'm looking at. So, anyway, let's get into it. So, first, Clemson. Obviously, Clemson did not have the year they are used to. They've been one of the best teams in college football. They put pros in the league, every year. They get multiple guys drafted. But last year was not as good a year for them. They also lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators. So I think Clemson's going to be extremely interesting to watch this year. Can DJ get it done, right? That's a big, I think most Clemson fans are asking those questions. Like, can he get it done? He did not look good last year, even though he did look good when he filled in for Trevor Lawrence 2 years ago. So are we going to get the guy that looked like he was going to be the next big quarterback at Clemson from 2 years ago? We're going to get the guy that struggled last year. I think that's interesting. I know they got a stud 5-star recruit. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but stud 5-star recruit that they got coming in that's going to try to take the job from him. And if he struggles, wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up getting the job. So obviously that's a big part of the storyline. The defense is always good. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like under a new defensive coordinator. But they always have so many athletes, and I'm sure the guys that are I'm sure there's going to be plenty of future pros on that defense this year, so it'll be fun to watch those guys and see what they look like. And then the running back, what's his name? Shipley, or Shipley. Will Shipley, I think is his name. And he's fun. He's a fun player to watch. I thought he was a lot of fun last year. I'm looking forward to see what he looks like this year, especially if there's better quarterback play. That should open things up for him better. But he's a highlight reel kind of guy and a lot of fun to watch. So, I think that's definitely one of those teams. They're a team I watch a lot anyway because they're always good. And, so they're constantly in those. Anytime they're in a matchup with another top 25 team or another good team, then I'm trying to watch that game. And that'll be the case again this year. Moving on from Clemson, we got Louisville. Louisville's been an up and down program over the last few years. Obviously, with Petrino and everything that went on with him, that program was up and down, good at times, not so good at other times. And I feel like the current staff is in an interesting spot this year. Cunningham is a heck of a player. He will definitely be one I want to watch. I want to see how good he is. I want to see, can he make NFL level throws. He's a good quarterback. He's a dual threat. He definitely will make highlight throws, but I want to take a closer look at him this year than I did last year, as far as like, do I think he could be a future NFL quarterback? And then, is he going to lead their team to a good enough season to kind of feel like Louisville's back on an upward trend? I think that's an interesting storyline for them. If they don't have a great year, I think there's going to be a lot of talk about maybe moving on from the coaching staff again. And I know that there's always that guy up at Purdue, Brian Brom, or not Brian Brom, but Jeff Brom. Well, the coordinator Brian Brom, both of the Broms that are Louisville legends from that city. They're going to want those guys to come if they end up having another good year at Purdue and the Louisville guys struggle. There's always going to be that talk that those guys are out there. So I think having a good season for Louisville is going to be important for the current coaching staff and for that program to kind of reestablish itself as one that can make noise in the ACC. So I'm definitely going to be curious to watch them play, particularly Cunningham. North Carolina State. North Carolina State is an interesting team this year. They had a good season last year, and it'd be interesting to see how that looks again this year. Their defense was pretty good last year, and I think they have a lot of guys coming back from that defense. It might even be like 10 out of the 11 starters from last year, something close to 9 or 10 out of the 11 starters from last year coming back. So can they even get better this year? I think that's interesting. Leary, the quarterback, had a good season. I'm curious to see if he can go to another level. And then, they had the wide receiver that got drafted in the NFL. I can't remember what his name was. So it's like Amizi or something like that, Amiki. I know he was really good, and so it'd be interesting to see what wide receivers can step up in his place and kind of fill that role as the lead guy. But yeah, I think they're a team that was very solid last year on both sides of the ball. Do they have the ability for either side to take it to another level? And if they do, what heights can they get to? So I think that's a very curious team to watch. Another one is Wake Forest, another team that had a good season last year. They were led by a quarterback, Hartman. Hartman, again, does he have another level to get to? They seem to always have a good passing game. They always have a couple of receivers that put up stats. I know A.T. Perry last year had a really good year. And I'm curious to see, what other receivers look like, and is that passing game continue to hum next year or the season? And what's Hartman look like? I mean, they were a fun team to watch. They're definitely an interesting team. I like watching them a lot, actually. I like watching them last year. Syracuse, Dino Babers, he's all over the place since he's been at Syracuse. Sometimes they crank up the passing game, sometimes they crank up the running game. They have upsets, but then they lose games they shouldn't. So I think they're a very interesting team. They're always interesting to watch. And I know that they got a new offensive coordinator coming in. And I know their running back, what's his name? Tucker. I think it's Sean Tucker. He had a heck of a season last year. He's a big play kind of guy. So very curious to see him again this year. See how he looks. And I don't know. I don't know if what that Syracuse fan base thinks of Babers. I think he seems like a good coach. He seems like they adjusted the personnel well, but they never seem to have that. They had a couple years ago, they had a really good season, but most of the time they're right there in the middle. And I've seen this with other fan bases. Sooner or later, even if you were at the bottom for years, and a guy takes you to the middle, and you're excited at first, over time, being in the middle all the time isn't enough. You want to keep seeing that growth. So I wonder how long Babers has if he doesn't kick it into a new level and get them to 8, 9, 10 win kind of team instead of always being in the middle there. So I think that'll be a fun team to watch this year. I'm being a Florida State fan. Don't like Miami. Never really liked Miami. But the conference is better when Miami's good. I think college football is better when Miami's good. And having Cristobal back is interesting. Does that swagger come back? Does that 80s and 90s Miami bad boys kind of image that they always had come back. That'll be interesting to see. Do they get back to having those defenses that that were like an SEC defense that was constantly putting multiple guys in the pros? It's been a while since Miami had that, so I'd be curious to see if Cristobal can bring that back. And then the quarterback Van Dyke, he looks the part of a potential NFL quarterback, but I got to be honest, because I don't like him. I didn't watch him that much last year. I kind of surprised people last year. I wasn't expecting him to be good, and I was kind of hoping the team wasn't good. So I really didn't catch a lot of them last year. So I'm definitely curious to watch more of him this year, particularly to see how good of a quarterback he really is. And I know their running back Knighton is really good. He's really fun to watch. And then it's just going to be interesting to see how good can they get in a short period of time. Because like I said, the conference is always better when they're good. Even if I'll watch them a lot, but I'll root for them to lose every week. But then it's actually better if they don't. North Carolina, another interesting team, very interesting. With Brown as a coach, you just wonder what's the long term there? Like how long can he stick it around? I feel like they built a good team around Sam Howell. Now that he's gone, who takes over at quarterback? Is the team as good without him? And they've had a run of good running backs and good wide receivers, putting guys in the NFL. Who steps up this year? I know I think they have one Downs maybe. They have one receiver that's really good from last year that came back. Will he have the same kind of impact without Howell throwing to him? And does that team continue to compete? That's. I think when you hire Mac Brown, you're hoping that he can get you back to a level that's consistent, because there wasn't consistency there with the previous staff. So this will be a year to find out, can they consistently be the top of the ACC, or are they going to fall back into the middle or even the bottom? I think that'll be interesting to see. Pitt is another team I think is very interesting this year. They kind of surprised people last year. If you watch any of our NFL videos or draft videos, I actually really liked our quarterback Pickett. I thought he was good. To me, he was the best quarterback in the draft, and I think he has a chance to be a solid pro. And obviously they put up huge numbers last year, but he left. The top receiver transferred to USC. The offensive coordinator left. So you got a whole lot of new. So that's going to be interesting to see, what do they do this year with all that new stuff. And part of the new is a quarterback transferring to them from USC. Clovis, I think is his name. And he kind of had an up and down career when he was at USC. So I'll be really curious to see what he looks like at Pitt and what their team looks like, with the new offensive coordinator and without that veteran quarterback and all those wide receivers that they don't have anymore. So I think that'll be a fun team to watch early, just to see do they still have it, and if they don't, then I probably won't continue to watch them. But the early first few weeks, that should be an interesting team to watch. Another team one of my favorite teams to watch last year in all of college football. I had a couple of guys from this team on my fantasy team, but Virginia was a very interesting team to watch. I think the quarterback Armstrong was really fun, but I know they got a new offensive coordinator. So are they going to, last year they were chucking it around all over the place. They had 3 wide receivers. What was it? It was Wicks and Kemp, and man, I'm going to be mad that I can't remember the other guy's name, but do those guys continue to light up the scoreboard, light up the field, chuck the ball all over the place, or will it be different with the new coordinator? And what does Armstrong look like, especially if it's a different offense where it's not just chuck the ball all over the place? Sometimes he made a lot of good plays, a lot of big plays, but sometimes he could get a little loose too. So I'm curious to see if he has a progression forward, because if he does, I think he could have a chance to be a good pro quarterback. But it's not a guarantee, so I want to see some progression in his game. But I think that'll be a fun team to watch again early on, see what the new look looks like, see if they're still as good as they were last year, because they were a lot. It was, like I said, one of my favorite teams to watch last year. So those are the teams and the players that interest me most about the ACC. I know I left a few teams out there. If you're a Georgia Tech fan, sorry, your team's kind of boring. I don't really like to watch them. There's a few others that I left out. I know, what Boston College again, like Boston College's coordinator left, and I don't know. They could be fun. I know they got a veteran quarterback coming back, but they don't interest me that much at this point. Maybe as the season goes on, I'll change my mind about that, but at this point, they just don't interest me that much. Duke seems like a mess on the football field right now, so be happy that you still have the basketball team. Because their football team's just not fun to watch. They seem boring to me. So, I don't know if I missed anybody there. I know I missed a team last in the other video, or two maybe. I'm sorry. Like the teams that are at the bottom of the pack, I'm not interested in watching a team get blown out by 3 or 4 touchdowns. So, and if you play a boring style and you're not fun to watch, Virginia Tech, that's one that I missed. Virginia Tech used to be one of my favorite teams to watch when Beamer was the coach there. Their defense was always good. They always hit people. Mike Vick was electric when he was there. They were always a fun team to watch back, but lately they haven't been. Fuentes was not good for their pro. That ended up not being a great hire. And I don't know until they show signs that they're fun to watch. I'm not going to tune in. I'm just not. So I know that's the nature of this video. Is who am I looking forward to watch? Me personally. Hopefully that gives you an idea of some teams to watch if you're not a big fan of the ACC, or if you're a fan of other teams. And like I said, I'll do a Florida State one down the road. That's more about my team, a little bit more in depth than what I'm looking for from them. But for now, for today, that was the what I'm looking forward to in 2022 for the ACC. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you some information. If you did enjoy it, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit that like button, and go ahead and comment. Tell me if there's some players I missed. Tell me if there's some team, the teams that I said I wasn't interested. Sell me on it. Tell me why I should tune in week 1, week 2, week 0 if you're playing week 0. And let me have it in the comments if you feel the need. Anyway, always love that conversation. Always love the rhetoric. That's what this channel's about. So please do that if you feel like you like it. All right, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.